Hi, I'm James Ramsey. I'm part of the outbound product management team for strategic portfolio management, and I've seen strategic portfolio management go through its journey from the project portfolio suite 7 or so years ago all the way to the great capability we see and what Karina went through earlier on. So in this section of the summit, we're going to look in terms of how customers are looking to deliver more transformational value at scale and pace. This sort of comes from work I've done with customers over the last 7 years, looking at how they've introduced this capability. One of our customers in the public sector in the UK once wrote a fantastic article looking at how their digital arm of their organization had transformed and built their organization around these services they would provide their customers, so structured around the resources and their teams, and how they would be able to deliver more value to their customers, their citizens in this particular case, at scale and pace. Okay, so I think the first thing that I think everybody who's on this summit today is undergoing some sort of transformation. I think it's an used phrase in some way, but that transformation effort can have so many different shapes and sizes. You know, we've all talked about digital transformation. Karina earlier on talked about how through sort of an agile type transformation, organizations are looking to shift from traditional project ways of working to organizing themselves around products. It could be something like we're introducing a new target operating model across the organization. It could even be we're rolling out ServiceNow. So there's lots of different activity, lots of different ways organizations are driving more change and more innovation across their organizations. But if you think about it, what we're really talking about is how do we help an organization transition from what they're doing today, i.e. the business of today, in terms of what they want the business of tomorrow to look like. Now, believe it or not, looking at this picture of me, I first started my work with transforming businesses back in 1994, where everything was in black and white. Back then, I was involved with transformation, strategic portfolio management type activities, but in that case, we didn't use those. You know, back then we didn't use those terms. In fact, my transformation was looking at how we could roll out an ERP stroke MRP2, if everybody can remember what MRP2 was, to a newly merged manufacturing organisation that was headquartered in the north of England, hence my accent. Now, that organisation had a very diverse product portfolio. On one hand, they were delivering electric blankets and blankets for hospitals. On the other side, we were delivering gun covers for Challenger 2 battle tanks. So, as you can see, a very diverse organisation. I often wonder why that organisation is not around today. But anyway, in that case, I was looking after that whole program of how we transition to this new thing, this new bright, shiny new toy called that ERP, and how we rolled that across the organisation. At that time, my strategic portfolio management solution was something called Lotus 123. So we weren't even at Microsoft Excel levels at that point in time. But times change. But if I remember what kept me awake at night as I was looking after that program of activity, even though we're talking about something back in the old days, what kept me awake at night is exactly the same primary concern I talk to customers about today, and that is risk. The risk of, as we deliver this transformation effort, as we spend all of this investment in people and money, what happens if, when we've done all of that, we don't actually deliver the value that we've promised? And that's a key focus point for all the customers I talk to today. So what we want to look at is how can we help, and how strategic portfolio management helps customers deliver that proven transformational value. It's all right going away and running lots of innovation and change activities, but it's key that we can prove the value of the effort that we're putting in. Now, just to add some external view on this, Gartner did some recent research, and they looked at 70% of organizations since the COVID pandemic have increased their activity in terms of new digital business initiatives that they're driving. So people are starting to wind up the engine, they're looking to drive more change and innovation. But they also said inside that change and innovation that by 2025, 70% of this new stuff that everybody's going to do is going to fail to meet the expectations of those business outcomes they're looking to drive. Now, to me, that means there's going to be a hell of a lot of people who are going to be awake at night worrying about the risk of their transformation effort not delivering on expectations. Now, a couple of things I'd add to this. Firstly, you'll notice I've highlighted it in green here. They actually identify that 70% failure is due to the absence of people not taking a strategic portfolio management approach. Fantastic stat based on the fact that we're all here today to talk about strategic portfolio management. The key thing though I'd add to that is it's not just about taking a strategic portfolio management approach, it's about how you take strategic portfolio management and you connect it to the end-to-end change process that's going on throughout your organization. So we're not talking about doing a siloed piece of work called strategic portfolio management. We're looking at how that becomes the umbrella across all of your end-to-end change and innovation activity. And the final thing just think about is we shouldn't be waiting until 2025 to actually fix this. This is happening now. This is something we can address now. Let's not wait till we get to that 70%. Let's look at how we can course correct and be more agile in how we drive that. Now, as I've said, transformation is an activity that has been going on as long as I've been working in business, and that's measured in decades now, which is a long time. But also, as we've seen from conversations with customers, it's not only transforming, it's the sheer scale and pace that organizations are now looking to transform, which is the key differentiator of where we are now. But the other thing to add to that is the increased level of complexity. I mean, we're increasingly seeing more complex and fragmented technology landscapes underpinning our customers' end-to-end change processes. Now, this is a problem that we can't continually kick down the road. It's something that we need to address, because if we just leave it and just carry on with the processes in place and a hodgepodge of loosely linked technologies managing ideas all the way through to delivery, if we leave it, that problem is only going to get more complex, it's only going to get costlier, and it's going to result in damage to the business. Now, back in March, we did a virtual strategic portfolio management workshop with some customers inside the UK. And as part of that session, we had a poll to look at where those customers were inside their transformation journeys, and also what the impact they saw in that complexity of that underlying landscape. And out of that, they were quite clear in terms of what the top issues were. One was and I think Corinne touched on it right at the beginning in terms of those market trends, was that lack of strategic alignment, the lack of proper communication from a strategic layer of what we want to do as a business, but also then how we make sure that the teams that are delivering that transformation are aligned to what we're doing. There was a feel for the fact that we need to be able to be more agile in terms of being able to respond and to predict things that are happening, changes in priorities, change in our ecosystem, reduction in funding, our resources being stretched. But for customers to be able to feel that they could pivot more easily, feel like they could be more agile, they felt there was a lack of and an absence of trusted data for which they could base their decisions on, which meant decisions took longer because we're pulling data out into Excel sheets and doing analysis and all those good things, but they weren't actually being able to make those dynamic decisions. And then from a resourcing standpoint, because everything seemed to result in teams working in silos, there was a lack of visibility in terms of who was doing what the interrelationships of that work was, and an overall stretch in terms of the resources being available to support the delivery, all of which impeded what they wanted to deliver from a desired outcomes perspective. So, from a ServiceNow's perspective, what we're going to look at in the final parts of my section here is how through strategic portfolio management and the wider ServiceNow platform, how we connect that end to end, and what does that mean for our customers. So how do we address this continual challenge of being able to drive more and more of the right change and innovation across an organization? Well, the first thing is we help our customers establish a control tower for transformation. Now, I've already used transformation as a word that's frequently bandied about. Control tower is another one. But this is the language that customers are coming to me with in terms of what they're wanting to do as their next step in driving that change and innovation across their organization. We have conversations about how can we establish an air traffic control tower? How can I have that control tower visibility? Now, we all know what a control tower is. It's all about giving that 360-degree visibility of what's going on, having full visibility of what's coming in, and making sure we get things going out as quickly as possible without any collisions. So how can we take that and align that to that change in innovation activity? And the other aspect of that is not just about creating one control tower. If you think about all the different types of stakeholders involved in change and innovation, from the senior executives, heads of transformation and change, portfolio managers, product owners, product managers, each one of them needs their own control tower. The person have their own view of their priorities, what's important to them, enabling them to assist in decision making and enabling them to perform better, and also ensuring they're aligned with strategy. Now, in order to create that control tower, we're all about connecting strategy with delivery. So addressing that earlier point in terms of ensuring that our teams are fully in line with what we're doing from an organizational standpoint. By doing that, that affords us that end-to-end visibility, all the way from strategy through ideation, all the way through build to delivery to realization of value. So we've got that full picture of what's going on. We can see what's coming, we can see what we're working on, we can see what value the products, services, applications we're providing to the organization, and from that, having that total end-to-end visibility affords us the ability to do and be more agile from a planning perspective, because we've got that full spectrum of what's going on, which means we get a full ability to optimize our use of resources. Now, from a resources standpoint, I'm talking to that in the full context, not just people. Obviously, people are important. We're talking from a funding perspective. We're talking from a time perspective. We're also talking from an asset perspective, I think, as mentioned in the session previous to this. So that ability to make sure our plans are fully aligned and going to deliver the optimum value aligned to our strategy, which then means our teams can then more effectively collaborate around that plan, because then we afford them the ability to work in whatever work method and whatever tooling makes more sense to deliver that change in innovation, which ultimately means that we're delivering the right outcomes aligned to our strategy, and we're delivering more of them faster. So we're delivering them at scale and pace. Now, that's what we'll look to achieve through the strategic portfolio management capability. We're going to now look at how all of that comes together on the ServiceNow platform. One of the most important things to me, and again, it was touched on the panel conversation earlier on, is the fact that strategic portfolio management sits on the ServiceNow platform alongside all of the other great capabilities: IT service management, operations management, integrated risk management, customer service management, field service management, the list goes on. The key element, because it's on the platform, it's natively integrated to all of those capabilities. And you'll see use cases across our customers in terms of how they're able to drive customer projects, or how they can ensure, as they're rolling out different entities, they can drive down into their field service teams, for example. The fact that we're all together on that one platform aids us to provide that top view there, that end-to-end visibility and insight from strategy all the way to value. Think of that as your control tower. Because what we're in effect doing, and what in effect the ServiceNow platform is something I term an end-to-end change data record, because we're bringing together the world of work through strategic portfolio management, together with the world of technology, CMDB, overseen by the Common Services Data Model, alongside customer view, financial view, asset view, all together in one place, which is unique. Now, if we're looking at what strategic portfolio management is, we're effectively looking at how we link strategy with the delivery of all different types of business change and innovation. So that might be programs of work, like rolling out a target operating model. It could be launching new products externally to our customers. It could be launching services internally to increase our engagement of our employees. But we're looking at everything from a change and innovation perspective right the way across the enterprise. Now, if we do strategic portfolio management right, we're going to start with strategy and understanding where the organization is going. Now, Karina very powerfully laid out how we've introduced the new goals framework, and whether that we're talking about goals and targets or whether we're talking about OKRs, you decide. We're capturing at the different levels of the organization what our measurements are, what we're looking to achieve, and how we're going to measure success. So if you think about those targets, those goals and targets, which are going to be set out in your company report, maybe we want to strengthen cost efficiency. That may be part of that being measured by how fast we're moving off from our on-premise data centers to making use of public cloud. We may be looking at transforming ways of working or increasing customer engagement. That might be looking at measurements like how do we increase our Net Promoter Score by 10 points in 2023. It may be related to how many releases we can roll out this year and next year. So whether those targets are financially related or non-financial related, we're capturing them within the framework, because that's going to provide the guide rails to how we can measure our success and how we can pivot on our plans if we're not up to meeting those targets in those defined timeframe. Having captured those goals and targets, we're then going to look at how that manifests itself as a strategic roadmap. So our heads of transformation, our heads of change, will translate those goals and targets into our strategic initiatives. Those being the vehicles which will drive the change, will drive the innovation across the organization and ensure we meet those goals and targets. Now, with a strategic roadmap, one of the outcomes of that is it's going to drive demand across your organization. Now, one of the powerful facets of strategic portfolio management is the ability for you to create that centralized demand pipeline. So looking at all aspects, change the business, run the business, enhance the business, bringing that all together in one place. Now, demand in itself can come from anywhere. So if we look in terms of where that demand can come from, what we want to do is simplify the journey, effectively create that single front door into demand, so it makes it easy for us to pull things together. Let's move away from demand coming in as emails, as water cooler conversation, as people filling in Word documents, attaching them to emails, or filling in forms on SharePoint sites. Let's make this a more dynamic experience. So we may start out from an innovation standpoint, where we're looking at harvest all those really great ideas from our employees, or maybe we want to go wider than that and pull them in from our customers. In fact, ServiceNow do that through the innovation portal, the idea portal, as part of the ServiceNow community. It's an important channel to get that feedback and get it straight into that demand pipeline. If you look at the world of the architects, whether that be an enterprise architects or business architects, they can engage with the strategic architecture capabilities or application portfolio management capability in terms of how they're moving from our current operating model, our as-is model, how we're going to transition into our to-be technology state. They could be looking at things from a capability planning, looking at how our underlying technology currently maps to our capabilities, the things we do as an organization, and how those capabilities map onto our strategies, identifying where we've got gaps and things that we need to address. That's all demand that we can feed into the central pipeline. We may be looking in terms of that goal around cost efficiency on how we can migrate to the cloud or how we can decommission legacy things. Again, analyzing the application portfolio, that's all demand. Those actions, what we want to migrate, what we're going to decommission, where we're going to invest. And likewise, if we're looking at it from a technology risk perspective, leveraging data from IT asset management, software asset management, hardware asset management, that wealth of lifecycle data, we can dynamically calculate the risk associated with our technology estate and identify proactively what do we need to do to address that risk. And that's all demand. And through a new capability we introduced within San Diego, digital portfolio management, a one-stop experience for service owners, app owners, and product owners, we can see the life cycle of the offerings through plan, build, run. And from that, make better decisions on how we can enhance those offerings. That all manifests itself as demand to feed into that pipeline. Now, having that powerful view of everything coming in, coming back to that control tower view, we can then feed that into our delivery roadmap. How are we actually going to deliver in order to meet what we've got on our strategic roadmap? And this is where we're going to iterate our planning, bound by our defined constraints of people, time, and money. So taking everything from a demand perspective, feeding in those strategic initiatives from the strategic roadmap and any iterations on that strategic roadmap, we're ensuring that what we're delivering is going to be aligned to what we define on the roadmap, which is defined to our goals and targets. Now, what's unique from a ServiceNow perspective is in that delivery roadmap, we're then taking into account all types of work. And again, that was mentioned on the panel session previously. So if you think about it, what we're looking at is we're creating, in effect, what I call a unified enterprise backlog of work. On it or in it can be all types of work: agile, scale agile framework, waterfall, hybrid. We could be having risks or engagements that are managed by the risk team, security tasks that are coming from our SecOps teams, all together in one place. So essentially, you have a single view of all work, irrespective of the work method that work is going to be delivered in, irrespective of the team that is delivering that work, and also irrespective of the tool that team are using in order to deliver the work. I think Jira has been mentioned quite a few times on the call, on the summit this afternoon. So some of the key things just to factor into that is the ability that we provide as part of strategic portfolio management for bi-directional integration with Jira and with Azure DevOps. So ensuring that those delivery teams can work in their tool of choice, but also then ensuring that from a strategic portfolio management perspective, we're maintaining that end-to-end visibility and progress of what's going on inside our unified backlog. All very important. And then when it comes to delivery, we can then look at how then we deliver these activities. Now let's take a case in point in terms of the technology element of what we're looking to deliver. So if we're delivering products, services, applications, for example, there's typically going to be some sort of transition activity as we transition from the build into the production environment. We're going to need to link into our release processes and ultimately into the change processes that are looking to deploy these capabilities. Now, the key element from a strategic portfolio management perspective, because release management, change management, the links to DevOps and the CI/CD toolchain are all part of the ServiceNow platform, it means this is all intrinsically linked together. So you can look in terms of how things flow through build and into those release and change processes as all part of being on the platform, which again gives us that fundamental differentiator of true end-to-end visibility. But we don't just stop at that delivery of change. If you think in terms of as we provide new services, as we provide new applications or products, the teams are experiencing those, our employees and customers, there are going to be incidents, there are going to be problems that we're going to have to factor in, which are going to be managed through a service management process. But they will then manifest themselves back into our enterprise backlog in terms of defects or enhancements, all of which will be prioritized against all other work in order for us to address those. So again, we're truly looking at a full end-to-end life cycle of change. And then to finish off, as we go through this end-to-end process, at each stage, we're looking to capture our measurements, to measure performance, capture our outcomes, ensuring that we're achieving those targets, realizing the benefits, both financial and non-financial. And as we go through, we're capturing those measurements, we're looking at continual improvement. How can we make this process faster? How can we ensure we can drive more change through? But at all times, ensuring we have that end-to-end visibility and insight. So hopefully that's given you a picture of how strategic portfolio management enables you to manage that end-to-end process, how we can connect through all our great capabilities that we provide out the box. And as you've already seen, on top of what I've gone through there is that great wealth of capability Karina's talked through that is coming down from a roadmap perspective in addition to that. So just in summary, enhancing transformation value is all about how we can deliver more of the right change at scale and at pace. That's going to necessitate, as Gartner mentions, the use of strategic portfolio management, but I would fundamentally add to that strategic portfolio management connected right the way through the end-to-end change lifecycle. So by doing that, we ensure that we have overall visibility of what we're driving. We have one place where we're tracking, managing all change and innovation activity. We're ensuring that our teams are aligned and are funded to deliver on our strategic priorities. By having that overall visibility, we've got that greater ability to adapt to our plans. But because we can scale to any work method, and because we can connect to those other tools within inside the technology ecosystem, we're ensuring those teams are working on the right stuff, using the right method, and with inside their tool of choice, but ultimately giving us overall end-to-end value. So with that, I think I hand back to Patrick.
And we're actually going to go to the Q&A, James. And there's been a lot of questions that have come up. So maybe we could take a couple of these and discuss them. One of them is about financials. And we're going to answer for Karina because she's not on anymore. But it's about, is there a plan to do more detailed cost plans around epic levels? And I'll give the answer that I know Karina is thinking about, and I know you've had a lot of experience with helping customers in this space too. But certainly from a product perspective, we want to be able to help customers plan their financials regardless of the method that they're using to do their work planning, whether that's more traditional or more agile. So maybe you can give a little bit of an insight on what you've seen customers ask for and how you've supported that.
Yeah, I think it's a similar conversation to what Karina was talking about from a Redact perspective. So we have detailed financial planning, in the project world, and as capabilities currently available, projects can be executed with traditional waterfall, or they may be agile, or they may be hybrid. So that enables us to do at that level, but there's an element of then needing to take and decouple that financial planning and have that down at the epic level. Now, currently out of the box, the way to do that is to leverage the investment funding capability. So with inside an epic, there is an out of the box link which will allow you to link to the funding elements for an epic, so we can look at how we can create cost plans, benefit plans, and associate them with epics, or in fact with any type of item, whether that be a work item like an epic or a feature, or it be something like a business application. So that's already there. It's probably a not very well known feature, if I put it politely, but we're looking at ways of how we can streamline access to that capability. And one of the things I think Karina touched on with inside the roadmap presentation is the whole link to funding as part of the alignment planner workspace as well, being integrated with inside that whole experience.
That's great. The next question, and this came up a couple times in some of the presentations, was integrating strategic portfolio management with Jira, and this one references specifically including DPM. So we see this a lot where customers are using a team level solution like Jira or even ADO, and they want to be able to integrate this with SPM to have that complete connection that you just talked about from strategy to delivery. And using the out-of-the-box integration is a great way to be able to have that bi-directional integration, to have that information in ServiceNow, so that you have that single pane of glass. And that single pane of glass, of course, carries over to DPM, where out of the box there is fields to capture the stories related to that digital product or that digital portfolio. So I think that's a great use case. I don't know if you want to talk about that anymore, or what you've seen customers do there.
Yeah, I think it's in the world that we're in, it's very much whether it's Jira, whether it's Azure DevOps, it's very much a realm of harmonious coexistence. and ensuring the teams can be working in their tool, doing their thing. But increasingly, we're getting asked about how we can have that above team level visibility of what's going on, and how can we scale agile. So there's a lot of organizations leveraging those out of the box integrations, which is a great place to start, because it allows them through configuration to identify what information that we're going to be passing back and forth, including any customized attributes you've done in Jira and how they map on with inside ServiceNow. But it also then links into the other capabilities with inside strategic portfolio. We talked about digital portfolio management already, but if you think in terms of the alignment planner workspace and the ability to have all of those different types of work all together on one hybrid roadmap, and being able to show not only what the plan of that roadmap is, but turn on the tracking mode, and we can feed directly in from progress of completed points with inside Jira and how that progress maps onto the alignment planner workspace. The other things just to mention are then whether you're working from a scale agile perspective, leveraging the safe board, or using more of a Scrum of Scrums methodology, using our Scrum program board, all of which will give that above team level visibility of how we're progressing in terms of delivering agile at scale.
That's great. This next one is more a comment. There was a lot of questions in the chat about how to get information to do a lot of the great things that we're talking about, whether that's alignment planner workspace or digital portfolio management. There's going to be mention later in the session about another session that we're doing specifically on how to leverage some of the technology. But I would just like to make the comment that we realize from your comments that it would be good to have other sessions around these specific areas, so we will take that away. Maybe another question here is around using SPM for just internal PPM, or also using it with client project delivery. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the better together that we have on the platform around customer projects?
Yeah, absolutely. If you take strategic portfolio management, link it with customer service management, there is a out-of-the-box capability called customer projects. That enables you to create projects which can be made visible to the customer. So if you're an organization who is doing work for your customer, you can set up your customer project, maybe using templates in terms of how you want to deliver. And as part of that template, you can identify which elements of your project plan are for you to see internally, and which things you want your customers to be able to view, which things you want your customers to make visible. And they would access that through the customer portal. Another element to that is, if a customer wants to know what's going on about their project, rather than having somebody ring up and chase down the project manager, they can just go to the portal, they can see the summary of the project, they can see progress, they can see the latest status reports, and also if they want a change, they can log a case against the project through the portal. So it's very much that ability for closer collaboration with customers around those customer projects. You can also go a stage further, and if you think about some of those projects that you're doing with customers, might be we've got a new product that we're going to install on site, or we might be rolling out a new conference room or something like that, which involves TVs, microphones, and all these good things. As part of that project to roll out, there's going to be installation activity where we're going to have technicians on site needing inventory, needing to go and install various things. So as well as connecting strategic portfolio management to customer service management, we can also connect it to field service management, where a project task inside a customer project can be automatically linked to the various work order tasks that the field service teams, those technicians, will be actually doing on site. And we can measure progress of that project right down to the installation level. And again, that's a unique element of bringing that better together of the different areas of the platform.
Yeah, I love that field service management integration to strategic portfolio management. And there's one last question, and I'll just reference some material that customers can get access to. This was around crawl, walk, run. So if you go to the Strategic Portfolio Management community, you can just search ServiceNow communities and you go to ours for Strategic Portfolio Management. There is a recent article there on sequencing of functionality and features and how to think about that. You'll see that was submitted by Alicia Rodriguez. The other thing is if you go to servicenow.com and you search for success maps, there's a lot of information on specific areas of strategic portfolio management and these success maps to help you be successful. One of those is Alignment Planner Workspace, and there's another one that you will find there for demand. And that's all the time we have for Q&A. I'm going to hand it back to Patrick.